What's going on, guys? It's Kyle here from Team Moons, and today we're going to give you a different kind of video today. With Zoo being the most popular deck right now and taking up most of the meta, we're going to talk about two hand traps that have a lot of resurgence, and those are being Retaliating and Droll Lock Bird. Now, a lot of people aren't playing both, and they usually pick one or the other, and let's talk about why. So the pros of Retaliating is that when it hits the field, it is basically a hand trap Dark Law, and as you guys know, if you've ever played against a hero deck, having all your shit banished is technically really hard to deal with, and a lot of decks can't deal with that. So, say if they're facing a Zoo deck and you Retaliating on their Fusion sub, it gets rid of all that stuff, and then there's no more drawing multiple cards, and then it's just pretty crazy. When it's popped, it can search max C because of its secondary effect, and once you get it off, it pretty much just stops a turn. And depending on what kind of deck you're facing, like Zoo, it will stop the entire turn. It's really good against any fusion-based decks like Metal Foes and, God forbid, Fluffles, and of course the Fusion sub-combo in Zoo, but that's what most people are playing it for anyway. But that's it for the pros. Now on to the cons. So even though Retaliating has a lot of pros, it also has a fair number of cons to go with it. One of those being, it can be dead against any deck that's not really like fusion kind of based or runs a fusion sub combo like Zoo. So say if you go up against like the True Draco matchup, it's not going to be very good, and you'd probably rather have other cards in your hand instead of a dead card. And if you face just like general rogue decks, it's going to be hard to pull off unless they activate an instant fusion, which is the only thing you're going to be using to get Retaliating off of anyway. So unless they run those cards or their fusion based deck, it's not going to do anything. Yes, it is a hand trap Dark Law, but say if they summon Dryden and just pop it, or if they summon the Broad Bull with a Whiptail underneath and just banish it, like, it doesn't do anything else. Like, but unless you have protection to back it up, it's not gonna really go for the right type of combo, like stopping that you want. Now onto the counterpart. We're gonna talk about Droll Lock Bird. Now this is a card that came out during Starstrike Blast, I want to say. So some good things about Droll Lock Bird is that it hits a wide variety of decks. Like, you're not just going to play it for the one deck. Like, it actually hits everything. Like, it hits decks that run field spells and terraforming. It hits decks that search like Zoo. It hits True Dracos because they search a lot. It hits Card of Demise decks and Duality decks and all that kind of stuff. And it hits slower rogue decks. It hits a lot of stuff. And that's a really big factor in this debate, because when it comes to like playing like competitive play for like a regionals or like a YCS, you want to hit a wide variety of decks. Like, you want consistency over power most of the time, and that's what Droll Lock Bird offers. So it stops all power to any deck that searches, and which is a lot of decks in the meta, and even a lot of rogue decks too. And it also hits multiple types of cards. Like, it's not just going to be like Retaliating where it just hits a spell card. So say if your opponent has like a Terra Top, but they don't have their instant fusion, right? So like, you can't hit their Terra Top searching Takatomborg and then ending their turn off that, so they can't use fusion sub plays. Because if you hit Droll Lock Bird on the Takatomborg, I mean the Terra Top anyway, they're not going to get to the point where they can fusion sub. So you wouldn't even need to. So it stops the turn right there. And that being said, that's a really big factor in this debate. And now on to the cons about Droll Lock Bird. So the things that are wrong with this card is that it is less powerful than Retaliating against decks that are fusion summon base, and like, it doesn't get rid of cards. Like, it just kind of hinders them for a turn or kind of stuns them for a turn. It doesn't get rid of the cards, where Retaliating does. And it also doesn't give you the advantage that you would if they get rid of it. Like, if they get rid of your Retaliating you do get to search max C, but most of their combo potential is probably already gone by then anyway, so you're not going to get a lot of that, off that max C, maybe 1 or 2 draws at max after they finish their combo. But it is less powerful against those kinds of decks. And like, for the instance of Metal Foes, which are still pretty relevant, they set a lot from the deck, so they're not going to be searching as much as most other decks would be, so that kind of gets around it as well. But that being said, it's still a really good card. One other bad thing about the card I will say though is that it doesn't stop the initial search. So if they can still use their Terra Top to search Attack Tomborg and you Droll Lock Bird them there, like, they can still do their plays because they still get the search. Like, it doesn't negate it, but it does stop the rest of their turn search, and it just kind of dumbs down their play a lot. So they're not drawing their +4, their +5, and they're not going searching for their Whiptails, they're not searching for Black Sheep, and they're not going to activate Tenking, and they're not going to go off like crazy. they're just gonna stop at like maybe like a Dryden with like a Invoker underneath it on the side. Like it's not a huge play, which is easily outed by most decks this format. So after listening to these few points about both cards, I just want to say that it is a very, very close matchup when it comes to which one of these cards you're going to be running. But for me, in terms of like a regionals or like a YCS, I would much rather run Droll Lock Bird.
Fatality.
Mostly because it is able to hit like a wide variety of decks, and like you don't want dead cards in your deck like at all against anything. Like Retaliating C is more powerful like in terms of what it does, but it's just too specific for me to run, and it can easily be removed like by stuff with like Dryden and Broadbull with a Whiptail underneath. But when it comes down to it, you can't out Droll Lock Bird unless you have some kind of like Gamma or something like that. But unless you have those kinds of cards, you're not going to be getting rid or stopping the effect of Droll Lock Bird, so your turn's going to pretty much end there. And with that being said, guys, I would choose Droll Lock Bird. What do you guys think? If you choose a Retaliating C, feel free to definitely play that card as a 3-of. It's a really, really great card. If you want to tell me in the comments down below what you guys think and any other kinds of videos you want to see from me in the future, this is my first discussion video, but I can definitely do more in the future. So make sure you guys hit like on the video if you liked it, and definitely subscribe, and it helps me out a lot. Thanks guys, this is Kyle from Team Moons, signing out.